Tractate Shevuos, General Introduction. Tractate Shevuos deals with the topic of oaths. A Shavua, oath, is a declaration a person can make that creates for him either a prohibition or an obligation to do something, or a legal declaration to establish the truth of the statement to which he swears. There are four basic types of biblical oaths. 1. An oath of declaration. 2. A vain oath. 3. An oath of testimony. And 4. An oath of deposit. See Rambam Hilchos Shevuos 1:1. Oath of declaration. This is an oath in which a person swears either to perform an act at some future time or not to perform it. The oath creates an obligation on him to do what he swore to do or to refrain from doing what he swore not to do. There is also a second type of oath of declaration that concerns a past incident. This is an oath in which a person swears either that he did something or that he did not do something. Someone who violates his oath unintentionally must bring a special kind of chatas offering, an offering brought on the altar in the temple, to atone for his sin. This is known as the variable chatas offering. This offering, which is brought for 2 other sins as well, will be explained below. The oath of declaration is the subject of chapter 3. Vain oath. A vain oath is an oath about something that is either obviously false or obviously true, or an oath that is impossible to fulfill, either because it is physically impossible or because it is forbidden by the Torah. In short, it is a pointless, vain oath. This oath is discussed at the end of chapter 3. Oath of testimony. This is an oath made by witnesses in response to someone's demand that they testify on his behalf regarding a monetary matter. The witnesses respond to this demand by denying that they know anything, and they swear to this. If they later confess that they did indeed know testimony that would have helped the person win his case, they must bring the variable chatas offering to atone for their false oath, even when their sin was intentional. This oath is the subject of chapter 4. Oath of deposit. This is an oath made by a person to deny another person's claim against him for money. Should he later confess that he swore falsely, he must pay what he owes him plus an additional fifth, and bring a ram for an asham offering. This is stated by the Torah in Leviticus 5, verses 20 through 26, and is discussed in chapter 5. Oaths imposed by the court. There are cases where the court requires a person to swear an oath in a monetary case. One of these is the oath of someone who admits to part of a claim. When a defendant admits to part of a claim made against him and denies the other part, he must swear a biblical oath that he does not owe the part he denies. If he does not, he must pay the full claim. This oath is the subject of chapter 6. Another court-imposed oath discussed in this tractate is the oath of a shomer. The oath of a shomer, a person who is responsible to care for someone else's property. If the property given into his care is lost, stolen, or destroyed, the shomer may or may not have to pay for it, depending on the type of shomer he is and on the circumstances of the loss. If he claims that he does not have to pay for any of the reasons that exempt that type of shomer from paying, he must make an oath that his claim is true, that the object is no longer in his possession, and that he did not improperly take the object for himself before the loss occurred. These oaths are discussed in chapter 8. Someone who swears these court-imposed oaths falsely is subject to the same rules as someone who swears a false oath of deposit. Rabbinic oaths. In addition to the biblical oaths already mentioned, the rabbis imposed a number of other oaths regarding monetary claims. These oaths are known as the Mishnaic oaths, and they are discussed in chapter 7. There is also a post-Mishnaic oath known as Hes's oath. This oath is imposed on a defendant who denies a claim completely, as will be explained in chapter 6. Since this oath was first instituted in Talmudic times, Gemara 40b, Rambam Hilchos Toim Netin 1:3, the Mishnah never refers to it. Imposed oaths. Generally, an oath is made by a person declaring the oath himself. However, the Torah teaches that the oaths of deposit and testimony can also be imposed by the person making the claim against them. This will be discussed in chapters 4 and 5. The variable chatas offering. There are many sins for which a person is obligated to bring a chatas offering for atonement. This will be explained in the general introduction to Tractate Zevachim. The general rule for a chatas offering is for the sinner to bring either a female lamb or kid, baby goat, for his offering. With the variable chatas offering, however, the sinner brings a lamb or kid only if he is a person who can afford an animal offering. If he is too poor for this, he brings instead 2 doves or young pigeons, one as a chatas and the other as an olah. If he is too poor even for this, he brings instead a mincha offering consisting of fine flour. This law is stated in Leviticus 5, verses 6 through 13. As mentioned above, the oath of declaration and the oath of testimony are both subject to the variable chatas offering. The passage in the Torah that teaches the law of this offering also teaches that there is one other sin that is subject to this offering, the tumah of the temple and its holy things. This refers to the prohibition for a person who is tameh to enter the courtyard of the temple or to eat holy, i.e. sacrificial foods. The penalty for doing so is kares, if one does so intentionally, and a variable chatas offering if one does it unintentionally. Because this sin has the same sacrificial atonement, a variable chatas offering, as the oaths of declaration and deposit, the law of the tumah of the temple and its holy things is included in the discussions of this tractate. It is the primary subject of chapters 1 and 2. In concluding this introduction, we must note the great severity the Torah attaches to the sin of swearing falsely. The Gemara in 39a states that when God said at Mount Sinai, "You shall not take the name of Hashem your God in a vain oath," the entire world trembled. In contrast to other sins for which punishment can be avoided with the proper atonement, the sin of a false oath is so severe that punishment can never be completely avoided. Furthermore, the punishment comes not only to him, but even in some measure to his family and the world at large.